بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. So we said that from the second generation there were some outstanding leaders and exegetists of the Holy Quran who mastered this art. And one of them was, what was his name? Sa'id. Which Sa'id? Because we have two Sa'id. First was Sa'id ibn Jubair. Where was he? What city? He's the student of the school of Mecca. He's the student of school of Ibn Abbas in Mecca. But where was he? Kufa. He was in Kufa. And the second Sa'id, he was where? Medina. He was in Medina. And he was considered, Sa'id ibn al-Musayyab, he was considered one of the great 7 scholars or jurists in Medina. One of the great 7. And both of them, they were intelligent. And they were the students of this man, the pioneer of the school of what? Where was the school? Ibn Abbas. Mecca. Abdullah ibn Abbas. He was in Mecca. And then we come to the third one, because we have to study 4 or 5 of them. Today's personality is Mujahid ibn Jabr. Mujahid ibn Jabr. And he lived from 21 until 104 H. And he died at the age of 84. Okay? And this man, he was originally in Mecca. He was born and died, both in the city of Mecca. And also he is one of the outstanding disciples and companions and students of Ibn Abbas. The student of Ibn Abbas.
Did you say he was born and died in Mecca?
Yes, both.
So he never migrated?
Probably no. Usually they go to other cities, they study, but then they go back to their base. And he says, when I studied under Ibn Abbas, my teacher, my mentor, I cross-examined my work with him 3 times about the entire Quran. The translation, the interpretation of the whole Quran from cover to cover 3 times to make sure what I put there in my book, in my papers, is accurate. 3 times, he says. And they speak highly about his in-depth understanding and his integrity, his religious integrity, moral integrity. But also some people, they accused him of receiving plagiarism, receiving knowledge from the people of book of that time. People of book is a term referred to whom?
It's Jewish and
Christian. They call them people of book because they have divine book. But many researchers, they say this is not a true accusation. This is not true. Why? Because he studied under this man, Ibn Abbas. And this man, he was very tough when it comes to asking other than Muslims. He was very tough. So his students, especially someone like Mujahid, it's impossible to do this act. because he's the student of this man, and this man taught him. So he would not go and ask non-Muslims about their opinions in the Quran or about the Quran. He would not. He would not do that. The other thing they say about him, other accusations. So what was the first accusation about him? He received some of his knowledge, some of his information from people of book. The second is that he interprets the Quran according to his own desire and his own understanding. This was the second accusation, which again was not the case, because there is a difference between interpreting the Quran according to desire or according to knowledge. There is a difference between them. According to desire, you have an idea in your mind and you want to advocate this idea and support this idea, so you might use and exploit some of the verses of the Quran to support your own idea. The second one, no. You are using what? You are using, Ihsant. Reasoning. Ijtihad. You are using reasoning here. You are playing by the rules. You know the rules, the regulations, the terms, the conditions, the etiquette, the methodology. You studied all these things. And then of course you come across a situation where you have to do i'malul aql, to use your brain here. To use your sound knowledge and sound understanding, not the false one, not the corrupt ones, the sound, the healthy ones. And this is ijtihad, and this is what God says it's okay, because you are following the rules. You are not playing outside the rules, following the rules, and therefore it's okay.
You said people were accusing him. Who was it that was accusing him?
People in his society.
Not the top leadership?
No, sometimes some of them are scholars too, some of them are ordinary people. This man, they say, Mujahid, he really was so intelligent and so expert in understanding the Quran that he would not accept the interpretations that is not accordance to reason. It's not in accordance with reason. Like what? An example. God speaks in chapter 2 about the Jews. And they had many violations. Many violations against Moses, against their prophets, against their societies. Many violations. It's written in chapter 2, Surah Al-Baqarah. The details are there. They did this, they did that, they did that. They defied their prophet. They were sarcastic about him. They murdered some prophets. يَقْتُلُونَ الْأَنْبِيَاءَ بِغَيْرِ حَقٍّ. Without any right, they murdered them. So God says, وَلَقَدْ عَلِمْتُمْ. If you go home and if you want to do more research, check it out, which is 265. 265. 265. Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 65. And you knew what we did. وَلَقَدْ عَلِمْتُمُ الَّذِينَ اعْتَدَوْا مِنْكُمْ فِي السَّبْتِ. Sabbath is Saturday in the Jewish tradition. In the Jewish tradition, Sabbath, they should not work. Some of them were fishing, okay? So they would cheat. They would put their nets on Saturday, but they go home. And these fish, they come and they get entangled inside these nets. So they come on Sunday and they collect them. And they say, we didn't fish. God tells them, no, listen. When I say don't work, it means don't put your nets You are working 6 days. Leave the 7th day for yourself and your family and your children. Don't come on Saturday and the only thing you are not doing on Saturday is not taking them out. Otherwise, you are putting the nets. Doing the same thing. Are you with me? The only thing you are not taking it out and you are saying I'm not fishing. But in fact, you caught them on Saturday. God says this is aggression. اعتداء. وَلَقَدْ عَلِمْتُ. Because you are violating my rules. God says to those people who did this transgression, وَلَقَدْ عَلِمْتُمْ الَّذِينَ اعْتَدَوْا مِنْكُمْ. Among you, not all of you, among you, those fishermen. الَّذِينَ اعْتَدَوْا مِنْكُمْ فِي السَّبْتِ فَقُلْنَا لَهُمْ. We said to them, كُونُوا. What is it? Yes, Lily? أحسنت. ما شاء الله Lily. كُونُوا قِرَدَةً خَاسِئِينَ. كُونُوا قِرَدَةً خَاسِئِينَ. Be apes outcast. Khasi'in means outcast and qiradah means apes. Now what do you understand from this? Mizuki, he's very, perplexed. He doesn't know what's going on. So what do you understand? God said to them, be like apes, outcast, humiliated, khasi'in. What is your understanding? They became apes.
So it's a metaphor.
God deformed them, their shapes into apes.
Metaphor for they don't understand.
Many people at that time, at the time of the second generation, their understanding was shallow. Shallow, not deep. They did not study the Quran very well. They were shallow. So they would understand the Quran literally. So they would think when they come across such examples, they think that they really became apes. God deformed those people into apes. They became from being humans into being animals. They were disfigured, let's say, disfigured or deformed. Their shape became the shape of animals. Even today, Even today. If you go to some tafsir, they say, yeah. In another verse, God says, apes and pigs. وَجَعَلَ مِنْهُمُ الْقِرَدَةَ وَالْخَنَازِيرَ وَعَبَدَ الطَّاغُوتِ. In another chapter. Pigs and apes. So they think that, they became pigs and apes. Especially in the Salafi tradition. You have to go back to Japan with something in you. If you don't do that, I would not be happy with you. Salafi, what is the Salafi?
It's a part of the one
Extreme. Exactly. Those Salafi, which did exist at that time too. At that time, this journey did not begin with ISIS. This is 1400 years old. They would interpret the Quran literally, literal interpretation. They don't go deep. They don't believe in metaphors or examples or parables. They don't. So at that time, people would think that, God deformed them and make them apes and pigs. But people like Mujahid, who uses his brain, and using the brain is essential in understanding the Quran. Quran was sent for people who have a brain, the ulil albab. So if you don't incorporate your brain, you will misread the Quran and you will misunderstand the Quran and you will do injustice to God and to yourself. Mujahid, what did he say about this, Ali?
So I thought maybe he meant like he's a metaphor for.
They do things without thinking. It's like if you go to Los Angeles Zoo and you lit a cigarette and you smoke, and then you lit another one and you give it to the ape, to the monkey. He will smoke like you. He will do the same, but he doesn't know what he's doing. Really? Does he understand this smoking? He doesn't. he emulates and imitates, but without thinking. He just follows blindly, without. God says those who do not understand the philosophy of religion and the philosophy of my commands, when I tell you what to do, what not to do, and they violate, they are like apes. They don't understand the spirit of religion. They don't understand the philosophy of religion. So God resembles them with what? With apes who sometimes do things, they imitate human beings, but they don't know. They don't know what they are doing. Give a monkey a book. You read the book, open it, and give it to him. He will open it like you. He will look at you. He will keep looking at you. But he doesn't know this is reading, this is book. He doesn't know anything like that. So this was a metaphor. Metaphor for those who do not understand the philosophy of God's commandments. Okay? So this is an example of. Mujahid said, no, not their shapes physically they were deformed. وَإِنَّمَا مُسِخَتْ قُلُوبُهُمْ. Their hearts and their souls were deformed. Not the shape. The shape, he's still the same human being. He's still the same. But inside became like animals. Because they did not adhere to the truth. And this is not just, about the people of book. It's even with Muslims, with any human being who keep receiving the messages from God and he keeps ignoring them. His heart is going to be deformed and becomes like an animal. Like the one who killed the other day 17 people in Florida. Does he have a human heart? He doesn't. Yes, he has a human shape. After that, he walked out. He went to McDonald's. He went to Starbucks, I believe. Yeah? Yeah. Imagine how relaxed he was. Killing 17 of his classmates, and then he drops the gun. This is how they captured him, through cameras. And he walked peacefully. He went into McDonald's. He ate. And then, of course, after food, people have to have some coffee. And and then when he left Starbucks, they captured him. He didn't even hide, as if he did nothing. 17 people he kills, and he's okay. This is an example of those who become worse than animals. Worse than animals. The other thing that Mujahid spoke about is a very controversial. By the way, Mujahid was loyal to the family of the Prophet. Was loyal to Amir al-Mu'mineen, to Imam Ali alayhi salam, and to the family of the Prophet, and to the Imams during his time. Another verse in the Quran, my friends, I think we spoke about this in chapter 75:23. 75, Surah Al-Qiyamah, the resurrection. Qiyamah means resurrection, day of judgment. وجوه يومئذ ناظرة إلى ربها ناظرة. وجوه يومئذ ناظرة ناظرة إلى ربها ناظرة. What does it say? The literal, let me tell you the literal meaning and then the metaphoric meaning. The literal meaning, faces, wujuhun, the faces of the servants, the people. On the day of judgment, يومئذ means the day of judgment. ناظرة, looking up to. Looking up to their Lord. إلى ربها, to their Lord. ناظرة, the second, see we have ناظرة and ناظرة. This is looking up to, and this is what? The second one. We have two different interpretations. One, A and B. A, the Salafi tradition, the literal school, they say looking to. This is looking up to, this is looking to, or seeing. This is the first school, the Salafi school. They believe that people on the Day of Judgment, they will see the face of God. But what is B? Mujahid and the school of Ahlul Bayt, and now the Shia Muslims, what they think? What does this one mean? Nadhara, the second nadhara.
Maybe realize it or judge it.
Majesty.
His
majesty.
Experience.
Looking up to their Lord's what?
Justice.
Mercy. Waiting His mercy. Awaiting. Nadhiratun, the second one, it means awaiting God's mercy. While the first school believed what, Mizuki? The first school believed that they would look at God. The first school. They believe that it means, the second one, it means they will be able to see God's face. The second school says, no, it's not about God's face. They are awaiting God's mercy. Atiyah, why people cannot see God's face? What's wrong with that?
That would imply that he has a face. Right?
But he says, I have face, doesn't he? Wajhillah.
Like a physical.
You don't do this li wajhillah. Wajhillah, what does it mean? Wajh means face. Doesn't he say this in the
But
Quran?
it's not like a physical thing like humans.
So what is it then?
It's I guess it's like a comparison for humans to understand. It's like his mercy.
Face of God, it means God's mercy. Why? Because God does not have a physical human being. So if someone does not have a physical human, does not have a shape, can you see it? Impossible. Ask physicians in physics. Tell them if someone does not have a shape, doesn't have shape or size, can we see it? They say impossible. It has to have shape. Otherwise you can't see it. Can you see ghosts? Who can see ghosts? Nobody. They don't have shape. They don't have physical shape. They have a spiritual shape, but not physical shape.
But Maulana, we can also say by seeing something, we are putting limit to it. Because we are
Exactly.
seeing that.
Exactly. You are limiting it. Limiting it to location, to size, to shape. This is why Jesus cannot be God. Because if Jesus is sitting on this chair, he cannot be on that chair. And if he's sitting in this room, he cannot be in that room. And if he's in Orange County, he cannot be in LA County. He's going to be restrained. And God who's restrained does not work for me. I want God who's everywhere, not just in this room. God has to be everywhere. This is why Jesus cannot be God. Scientifically, he cannot be God. I've spoken about this subject. I've given you this book before. Page 111. This is the book. I spoke extensively about Ru'yatullah, seeing God. The difference between the Shia and the Sunni traditions. The Sunnis, most of them, not all of them, they believe that they can see God physically. Not now, but in the Day of Judgment. In the Day of Judgment. If you go to this book, page 111, you will see that. I explained that thoroughly. But we the Shia, according to the Quran, to this book itself, numerous places, this book says, because Moses said, God, please, أرني أنظر إليك, allow me to see you. God said to him, إنك لن تراني. You can't. Wake up, you can't. I don't have a shape. Okay? So, this is again, this man, he used his intelligence and his reasoning in explaining this verse. He says this contradicts with the basic principles of the Quran. Basic contradicts with the basic principles of monotheism, tawheed. How can we see God? Even if there is hadith, you say there is hadith, the Prophet said, I don't accept this hadith. Because the Prophet himself, he says, whenever you receive a hadith from me, they tell you this is the Prophet, cross-examine it with this book. So if it is in accordance with the book, فَاقْبَلُوهُ, accept it. But if it, فَإِنْ عَارَضَ كِتَابَ اللَّهِ, it contradicts with this book, فَاضْرِبُوا بِهِ, this is a metaphor, that to throw it away. This means that this hadith is fabrication. فَاضْرِبُوا بِهِ عَرْضَ الْحَائِطِ, throw it against the wall. Don't accept this hadith. Because it contradicts the book. And it contradicts reason. How can we see God? Where is His face? Where is His body? Where does He live? Where is this God? So this is one of the early discussions. That Mujahid was a pioneer of correcting it. Correcting this literal translation. Of course, do you know that one of the most important mufassirs, exegists of the Quran in the Sunni tradition is very famous. He could be number 1 or number 2. I'll put his name so you check it out when you go home. His name is Muhammad ibn Jarir al-Tabari. Muhammad ibn Jarir al-Tabari. Abu Ja'far. His nickname is Abu Ja'far. This guy, he was born in Iran, in the city of Amul. Amul. Amul was part of Tabaristan. Tabaristan. At that time, Tabaristan. The province was called Tabaristan. The city is Amul. And he lived for almost 8 years, 86 years, and he died in Baghdad. So his grave is still now in Baghdad. Next to Abu Hanifa. You know Abu Hanifa, the leader of the Hanafi tradition, he's buried in Baghdad, A'zamiyya. Imam al-Tabari, they call him Imam al-Mufassirin, the Imam of the exegists, the Imam, the leader of those who translate the Quran. He mentions the story, and he says Mujahid, he mentions the story of the verse, chapter 75, the verse that I put here. And he mentions the opinion of Mujahid. He says, Mujahid says, they don't see God's face. They look up to God's mercy. This is a metaphor. إِلَىٰ رَبِّهَا نَاظِرَةٌ. Looking to their Lord does not mean looking physically. It means hoping that God will bestow His mercy. It's like today. Today I say, I look up to you to help me. I look up that one. I have hope in that one to stand with me, to help me, to assist me. We say this. In ordinary language, we say this. Okay? A mother says to her son, I look up to you to do good at the exam. Same thing with people on the day of judgment. They look up to their Lord. They need His help. Not that they see Him. They don't see Him. They await His mercy. So after this Imam, this great Imam, he brings this opinion, but he says, no, this man is wrong. He says, this man is wrong. And the true meaning is that, yes, we can see. This is the madhab of Ahlus Sunnati wal Jama'ah. This is the opinion of the people of Sunnah, Sunnis, that they will see God physically. Okay? This man was born 224 and he died 310. Okay? And he memorized the Quran at age 7. At age 7, he memorized the entire Quran. Can you believe it? He was very intelligent. but sometimes politics curtails your intelligence. What does that mean?
Politics,
Curtails, yeah, cuts back, prevents your intelligence from working. How is that? Can you give me an example? You are intelligent, you know the answer, you know what is right, what is wrong, you have strong brain. But politics does not allow you to choose what is right. It forces you to follow what is wrong. What? Tell me. Sometimes the fear of the government, people fear the political establishment, so even though they know what is true and what is right, they don't say it. They choose to say something wrong.
It could be Iraq-Iran war, Muslims killing other Muslims.
Yeah?
They shouldn't kill Muslims.
You know, this man Tabari, though he's number one. He's number one in the interpretation of this. If you go to any library today, any library, and ask for Tafsir al-Tabari, he has two famous books. One in the Quran, Tafsir al-Tabari. One in the history, Tarikh al-Tabari. He has history of Islam. He has written an encyclopedia on the history of Islam. Another encyclopedia on the interpretation of the Quran. Okay? And many people, they speak highly of him. They love him. And Ibn Kathir, the leader of Salafism, you know the Salafis? Their mastermind is someone called Ibn Kathir al-Dimashqi. He is from Syria. He took the core of Tafsir of Tabari and he put it in his book. It's like plagiarism. Plagiarism.
Is Ibn Taymiyyah also?
But Ibn Kathir was before him. Yeah. Okay? And he hates, even Tabari, he does not favor Ahl al-Bayt. He's with the majority, not with the family of the Prophet. Imagine, I've seen this in his two books. I have them. I have the history and I have the tafsir. In the history, when he comes to Surah Al-Shu'ara, in the Quran we have chapter called Surah Al-Shu'ara. I think chapter 28. Where is it? 26. Chapter 26, okay? There is a verse that says, وَأَنذِرْ عَشِيرَتَكَ الْأَقْرَبِينَ. وَأَنذِرْ, let me find out about the verse. Yeah. وَأَنذِرْ, I think verse number 100 and something. 100 and... Shu'ara, by the way, it's beautiful chapter. Very beautiful. Hajj, Mu'minun, Nur, Furqan, Shu'ara. وَأَنذِرْ عَشِيرَتَكَ الْأَقْرَبِينَ. In that verse, God is saying to the Prophet, what does it mean? وَأَنذِرْ عَشِيرَتَكَ الْأَقْرَبِينَ. What does it mean?
Look at your close...
Invite your close home.
tribe or family.
What does it say, Lily?
I think anzir means warn them.
وَأَنذِرْ, warn your
Warn your close family.
immediate family. Warn your immediate family. 2:14. 26, 2:14. Check it out. This is important, my friends. So in the book of history, he narrates, this Imam, this great leader, in his book of history, he says that the Prophet gathered his immediate family and he told them, I am the messenger of God. Who's going to help me? If he helps me, he's going to be my brother, my successor, أخي ووصي وخليفتي. My successor and my janishin, which is what? My caliph, successor. Okay? So nobody answered the Prophet except Imam Ali. Imam Ali was 12 years old. He raises his hand. He says, Prophet, I will be with you. The Prophet says to him, sit down twice. Third time, the Prophet said, okay, this gentleman is going to be my brother, my successor, and the one who leads the nation after me. This is in book of history. But then he comes in the book of tafsir, same author, imagine. Same pen, same hand. He says, the Prophet says, Inna hadha akhi. Ali is going to be akhi. And then he should say, wa wasiyi, my successor, wa khalifati. You know what he says? He doesn't continue the sentence. What does he say? He says, wa kada, etc., etc. He doesn't put successor. Look at politics. He's the same author. And he has written a book earlier, before. And he says, he's going to be my brother, my successor, and my heir. But in his tafsir, he doesn't say that. He doesn't have the guts to say. Why? Because he was in Baghdad at that time. And Baghdad mostly were Hanbalis at that time. The followers of Ahmad ibn Hanbal. They were fanatic Muslims, fanatic. And the leader of the Hanabila, the Hanbali tradition, was against him. He was intimidating him. To the extent that they forced him to stay indoors. He could not leave his house until he died. Until he died, he could not leave his house. So maybe it was the fear of persecution which influenced his writings. And this is a big responsibility. You are writing a book for millions of people to read it.
So you said, whose time period, who was persecuting him, made him...
The leader of the Hanbali tradition in Baghdad. His name was Abu Bakr. Not Abu Bakr the Caliph. No, this leader. Around this year, around year 100 Hijri.
Why did he imprison him or home?
Because he was not Hanbali.
Oh, okay.
Because he was not from his tradition. And there was a feud between them, between Tabari and that person, Abu Bakr. So he spreads rumors against him to the extent that he had to stay indoors for his safety and security. He could not leave his house until he died because of sectarianism, ugly sectarianism. If you read the story, they tell you. You know, they were killing each other. Sunnis in Baghdad were killing each other based on sectarianism. Not Shias killing Sunnis or Sunnis killing. Sunnis killing each other at that time. And he was one of the victims. So he does not finish the sentence.
And no one asks, what does that mean?
No.
one asks that question?
And now Saudi Arabia, they printed his book. So this is his tafsir. In the tafsir he said kada wa kada. In the history he said the full sentence. Now Saudi Arabia, when they reprinted his book, they did in the history what he did in the... They put wa kada even in the history.
Right.
Are you with me? Do you go and check it out.
So, say this one, so when the Prophet said that, be my brother and successor, is that considered the hadith?
Hadith, yeah. Many other Sunni sources, they mention this. Tha'labi, Zamakhshari, others, they say, the Prophet said, he is my akhi, wa wasiyi, wa khalifati. Three terms. He's my brother, Ali is going to be after me. My brother, my successor, and my heir. heir to the throne. Of course, there is no throne, meaning he's going to be the caliph to the Prophet. They say that. The Sunni sources, they say. But I'm giving you an example of that. Even such a man with such a caliber, he's nicknamed Imam al-Mufassirin. Imam, he's the leader of Mufassirin. Sometimes he gets compromised. He doesn't tell you the truth. Though he's intelligent and he memorized the Quran at the age of 7, and he said, I became Imam leading prayers at the age of 8. People pray behind me. He was 8 years old. But sometimes politics, remember this, politics curtails intelligence and knowledge. Does not allow knowledge to spread.
Sayyid,
Yes.
was Mujahid part of the Al-Awtad al-Khamsa?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Okay? Unfortunately, most Sunni exegetes, they believe in the physical seeing of God, including Imam al-Razi. Some people say Imam al-Razi was number 1 in tafsir, and his book is called At-Tafsir al-Kabir. Some people say Tabari is number 1. Both, they believe that on the Day of Judgment you can see the face of God. You can see it. Based on what? Based on a hadith which was narrated by whom? I wish by Ibn Abbas, I wish by Umar, still I accept him, and Abu Bakr. But by Abu Huraira. Abu Huraira, who fabricates. He was well known for his fabrications, and he was chastised by the second caliph. Chastised means he was punished. Second caliph, one day he said to him, come, Abu Huraira, come here, I need to speak to you. Yeah, it's written in the history. He said to him, لَقَدْ أَكْثَرْتَ الرِّوَايَةَ عَلَى رَسُولِ اللَّهِ. You did too much. Akthart means too much fabrication.
Too much.
Yeah. Make it moderate, shway shway. You did it, yeah, wholesale. At least take it easy on us. You created a scandal. لَقَدْ أَكْثَرْتَ الرِّوَايَةَ عَلَى رَسُولِ اللَّهِ. Umar says this to him. A man who fabricates. This man is behind the fabricated hadith that God is going to be seen physically by the people on the Day of Judgment. And I mentioned this. I mentioned the reference to this hadith in Bukhari, Muslim, in this book.
Most credible Sunni mufassirs actually question Abu Huraira themselves.
Yes, many Sunnis, they don't accept him.
Done that also in his history book?
Tabari,
That he
no.
punished
They discuss that issue in Rijal, another field, not history, not tafsir. Ilm al-Rijal. The science, some of you probably studied this. This is a branch of Ilm al-Hadith. One of the branches is Ilm al-Rijal. We study the biography of people, so they discuss this in that book. Many people do not accept Abu Huraira. They don't accept him. Now, ironically, though Tabari was really, in reality, he was Salafi. But to destroy him in Baghdad at the end of his life, you know what they accused him with?
Shia?
Being Shia. The leader of the Hanbali. This accusation of Shi'ism, whenever, for the last 1400 years, whenever they wanted to destroy someone, they will say he's Shia. Because once you say Shia, that's it. He's gone immediately. And there is nothing worse than, in their tradition, in their culture, nothing worse, no crime is worse than being Shia. Yes. So if they want to destroy someone, rather than bringing many pages writing about this, no. You just summarize it in one. Say he's Shia, he's done.
That's why I say, Tabari was.
And this case, even today, Mizuki, if you go to Saudi Arabia, to parts of the Gulf states, other parts, if you want to punish someone, you just say he's Shia. That's it. No tolerance with him.
Sayyid Tabari was what school of thought was he from?
They call it, they themselves, Sunnah and Jama'ah. Yeah. Whenever you hear Sunnah and Jama'ah, it means Salafi. Otherwise, moderate Sunnis, they don't say Sunnah and Jama'ah. They don't say that. They don't use this term. This term is used to say he's Salafi or he's anti-Ahlul Bayt. In nutshell.
Before Shafi'i in the time period, was that during Shafi'i, right?
This was during the Imams, yes. This is also during the Imam of Ahlul Bayt. This is during the Imam of Ali al-Hadi, 10th Imam, Hassan al-Askari. He was born during that time. Okay. What else? Now,
Razi that he mentioned, is not that Zakaria Razi, the chemist?
no. He's another Razi. Yes. Yeah, another Razi. Many people would think that when they speak about the verse looking at God, that this is the opinion of whom? Those who do not believe in physically seeing God. Which school was that? Do you know their name? Even their name from the past. What is their name? Mu'tazilite. So Mu'tazilite did not believe, or al-Mu'tazilah, they disagreed with this notion that God would be seen by people on the Day of Judgment. So therefore, Fakhr al-Razi says, وَعْلَمْ, let it be known to you, أَنَّ جُمْهُورَ أَهْلُ السُّنَّةِ, the mainstream, so-called mainstream of Ahlul Sunnah, يَتَمَسَّكُونَ بِهَذِهِ الْآيَةِ, they get hold of this verse, وُجُوهٌ يَوْمَئِذٍ نَاظِرَةٌ, chapter 75, على دلالة على أن الله يرى يوم القيامة, that this is a strong evidence. So their evidence is this verse that I put here, chapter 75, that God is going to be seen. Unlike the Mu'tazilite, who metaphorically interpret this verse. Now, how about the Shia? What do they think? The Shia, they think neither in this life you can see God, nor in your dream. Some people say we saw God in my dream. Neither in your dream, nor in reality, nor on the Day of Judgment. God is not to be seen. God is to be felt, but not seen. Can you see love? You can't see love, but you can feel love. Love is a feeling. You can feel it, but you can't see it. Can you see hate? You cannot see hate. Hate is a feeling, but it's not a physical object. Yes?
So Sunnis would say, for example, that Prophet Musa saw the physical being of God?
No, they don't.
They don't.
No. He didn't see. Sunnis, they say, in this life we cannot see God.
In the next life.
In the next life we can see Him. No, in this life they say no.
No one says
No, nobody saw God. Nobody. They agree with us. But they disagree that on the Day of Judgment there are different formulas, different rulings. There you can see God. There the curtain is removed and you can see everything.
Same with hearing God.
Yes, hearing God also, God does not have voice that comes out of the throat. God creates waves so you can hear a voice. Metaphorically, it is called God's voice, but it is not a voice that comes from a throat. It's like saying God's revelation. God's revelation. But it's not his voice. He creates waves. So Moses was able to hear these waves, to hear the sound or the voice, and they call it God's voice.
So say, then they truly believe that we'll be resurrected with the same bodily structure? Eyes,
Oh.
ears?
Yeah, they believe in that, yes.
Resurrected in the same
Yes. Yeah, resurrected, but however, modified. After the day of judgment is over, people are going to be modified. Modified, it means they're going to be improved. They're going to become younger. Those who go to paradise, of course. All the diseases, sicknesses. Imagine people die with cancer. People die with wounds. People die losing their limbs. So they don't go to paradise using crutches, Yeah. This is why one day the Prophet said to an old lady, she came to the Prophet, very old lady. She said, "Oh, Prophet of God, do you know the story? Please pray for God to admit me to paradise." The Prophet jokingly said to her, "You don't know that old women, they don't go to paradise?" She said, "Really? Wow, why?" The Prophet was laughing. He said, "Because they would regain their young age. They are not allowed to go while they are old. They will become younger, fresh, younger, and then they go, inshallah."
What about kids? They become.
We have kids in paradise. We do have. But whether those kids are going to go the same age, younger, older, they say the miscarriage, the baby that is being miscarried, he would wait. ينتظر أبويه على باب الجنة. He would, because he's innocent, and those innocent, they will be taken to paradise, but he will wait at the gate. He says, "I would not go until my parents come with me." So apparently he goes when he's baby. Yeah. Then in paradise there is no aging, my friends. No aging. You always look the same, alhamdulillah. No cosmetic surgery. No,
Your job there.
Yeah. That's it. Out of business. Inshallah, he does something else. He does a preaching, inshallah, because he's learning now. Yeah. Yeah. And this is why in the Quran, wildanun mukhalladun. See, wildan, young boys, young, mukhalladun, eternal. They don't change. They don't change. Shababi Ahl al-Jannah, yeah? Because all of them are. The paradise, all of them are young, shabab. Not Somali shabab, huh? No, we are not saying about yeah. the real young ones. Let me conclude with this. Is there any evidence in this book that nadhira that I put here is not the physical seeing, but it is waiting for something in this book? One of the great leaders of Shia Islam, Abu Ja'far At-Tusi. Great leader. He says, yes, it's in the Quran, Surah An-Naml, chapter, check it out when you go home, 2735. 2735. Bilqis. Who's Bilqis? The queen of Saba. Where is Saba? In Yemen today. Saba was a kingdom. Okay? And Saba is a name of a chapter of the Quran. When Solomon discovered her, that there is a queen and kingdom, and he sent her a letter with the bird to accept Islam, She consulted her counsel. I have a letter. ألقي إلي كتاب كريم وإنه من سليمان وإنه بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألا تعلوا علي وأتوني مسلمين. Solomon was in Palestine. Queen of Saba, her name is Bilqis, was in Yemen. So Solomon sent a letter to her, invitation, with a bird, okay? Saying that, listen, Allah ta'alu alay, don't argue with me, don't dispute with me, and it's better for you to accept Islam and come to me, to Palestine. So she said, worried, is this serious? So she consulted her council, advisors. They said to her, they were wise. They said to her, yes, don't dispute with him. He has a huge army. He has a huge army. So don't kid with this man. It's better that you go. She said, but before I go and tell him I'm a Muslim, let me do a small trick. Let's see whether he would be tricked or not. I will send gift, money to him. Maybe he will accept it and he will change his mind. وَإِنِّي مُرْسِلَةٌ إِلَيْهِمْ بِهَدِيَّةٍ. I'm going to send to Solomon and his party, his group, بِهَدِيَّةٍ, hadiyah, gift. What is the rest of the ayah? وَإِنِّي مُرْسِلَةٌ إِلَيْهِمْ بِهَدِيَّةٍ فَنَاظِرَةٌ. فَنَاظِرَةٌ. Didn't we have in Surah Al-Qiyamah Nadira? Fa in the beginning it means so. So I will be Nadira. What does it mean Nadira? Waiting. فَنَاظِرَةٌ بِمَا يَرْجِعِ الْمُرْسَلُونَ. What is the answer is going to be from Solomon? Let me wait. If he rejects and he says, no, listen, no, don't try to bribe me. I want you to be Muslim. Don't send me money, try to silence me. If he says this means he's true. He wants me to be a Muslim. If he accepts the bribe, it means he's fake. He doesn't care. He cares about money, not about Lord. فَنَاظِرَةٌ, waiting.
Does it mean I observe?
نَاظِرَةٌ, I will wait and see. Same thing with Qiyamah. They wait and see what their Lord is going to do with His mercy. وصلى الله وسلم على سيدنا محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين.